Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Today's retro review is the 1992 adventure Castle Drachenfels for Warhammer Fantasy Role-Playing 1st Edition by Games Workshop. Castle Drachenfels is an adventure based on the characters and locations from the novel Drachenfels by Jackie Oval, which I should point out that I've not read. Constant Drachenfels, the Great Enchanter, is described as a creature of living legend, of evil given physical form. He's been around for as long as anybody can remember, lurking in the corners of history. He's said to be so powerful that Sigmar himself could not break him. The first chapter details a brief history of Castle Drachenfels and goes some way to explaining why this cauldron of evil is still standing. We also have some historical quotes around Drachenfels that describe some of the atrocities he's committed over the years. The second chapter details the location of the castle and gives a few encounters for those on the road to finding it, as well as detailing the approach to the castle. It details mounted encounters that the party are likely to have. Chapter 3 is entitled Geography of Drachenfels. This gives a map of the outer grounds and details the contents of each of the 7 towers, as well as detailing a weirdly dangerous encounter with an animated stagecoach. The Tower of Weakness has one of the sources of the strange magical effects that permeate the region, the Black Shard. This is detailed in the new magic items section. Main building's ground level is next up. This details the area of the castle that was available to the many doomed visitors that came here, as well as detailing Drachenfels' throne room. Throughout this level we are presented with horrific evidence of Drachenfels' evil over the centuries. Chapter 5 details the first floor chamber and the Great Tower. This is where proceedings ramp up in difficulty, as we are getting nearer to one of the things that makes the castle as odd as it is, the weather vane at the top of the Great Tower. The weather vane has a demon bow within it that will attack anyone removing it. The weather vane is linked to the previously mentioned Black Shard. Next up is the chapter on the dungeons and the various doomed denizens that reside within. Here we have one horrific and difficult encounter after another, and it's here where you can get to eventually meet the Great Enchanter himself, depending on if you decide as a DM whether Drachenfels is dead or alive. There are options for both. Chapter 8 is called Adventuring in Castle Drachenfels. This details all the magical oddities that permeate the castle, the grounds and the surrounding area, as well as detailing all of the spells that work, don't work or are altered. It also gives notes on disease and sanity, and even how to sleep in and around the castle. As it turns out, something as simple as sleeping is not as straightforward as it would seem. We also have a section on castle dwellers that could be potentially helpful, Bardal the Hunchback and Stanislav Goth, Ghost Sage. Following this, there are rules on the various castle spirits and how the old Warhammer staple of instability affects them. Throughout the castle there is a method of travel called warp passages, and these are also detailed throughout. Chapter 9 is Adventures in Castle Drachenfels. This is an attempt to give reason to actually be there, and discusses your approach and how the DM should build up to the finale, as well as adding on secondary plot twists and themes. After that, we have a large section that profiles all the denizens in and around the castle, as well as the statistics for Drachenfels the Great Enchanter himself. This is followed by the usual array of new monsters, magic items and pre-gens, as well as a handout section. In conclusion, I have mixed feelings about Castle Drachenfels. On the plus side, Drachenfels will be like nothing else the players have ever done in Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. In a world of low magic, low fantasy grittiness, Castle Drachenfels stands out as a beacon of oddity. The locations are described in excellent detail, and you truly get a feel for the madness and evil of the Great Enchanter. The encounters throughout range from disturbing to intriguing to downright vicious, and the story that unfolds as you work your way through the castle is a good one that should keep the players engaged. On the minor side, however, there are a few things about this book that I really didn't like. Firstly is the constant reuse of Warhammer art from other books and supplements. It gives the book a sense that Games Workshop didn't have the faith in it enough to commission new art throughout, which is odd as there is new art in the book. The reuse of art unfortunately then drives the encounters. The Harpies art that is taken from the Doomstones campaign, for example, then drives an encounter with Harpies. The Warhammer world is vast and varied with a bestiary of interesting creatures, and it's a shame more of it isn't utilised. Also, some of the artwork really doesn't match the rest and sticks out like a sore thumb. Secondly, this doesn't really feel like an adventure. It lacks a cohesiveness throughout, and the castle itself is more like an asylum filled with one crazy room or encounter after the next. It doesn't feel like a joined up occasion. Thirdly, your motivations for going there may be a reach character-wise, whereas the pre-generated characters have distinct reasons for their escapade. For me, Castle Drachenfels is Tomb of Horrors for Warhammer Fantasy Role-Playing, but without the charm the tomb possesses. Where Tomb would be difficult, Drachenfels just feel mean. I would give this a 5 out of 10, mostly based on the unusualness of this book compared to other Warhammer publications. If you enjoyed this review, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, don't forget to check out my other reviews. Bud out.